Howdy, howdy. Cody here with Creation Outdoors, back in Corey's kitchen in North Dakota. And today we are making
summer sauce.
Summer sausage. We're making venison summer sausage. So we are going to have a great time and spend some time in the kitchen and do some meat processing of some wild game. Okay, so venison summer sausage. I'm going to start the video by going over some of the requirements of what you need to do this at home. Similar to our snack stick video that we recently did. This is our first time trying this, so it's going to be a fun experience, but I think that we got it covered. And so let's go over what we need. So in terms of main equipment, we have a meat grinder and a sausage stuffer. These are both made by Lem, L-E-M, and they worked well for us and for our snack sticks, and so we're going to use those again, just a little bit larger nozzle for summer sausage. And then we have our meat. So I was lucky enough to recently get a buck, and so this is some chunks from that deer. So we have about 17-18 pounds of venison, trimmed, and take all the fat and silver skin off for this. And then I have some pork fat. This is more pork trim because we weren't really able to find pure pork fat. And this is about 7 or 8 pounds of pork fat with some meat mixed in. So we got a total of 25 pounds that we're making today. And that is because our seasoning is good for 25 pounds. This is a similar summer sausage seasoning to what we use for our snack sticks. It's made by the same company, and that's pretty good. We have high temp cheese that we're going to be mixing in here. And then in terms of preservatives, we have pink curing salt. This is sodium nitrite. And then we have some encapsulated citric acid, which you can get at a butcher shop or probably at a restaurant supply store. We're not sure. We got it at a butcher shop. This is about 1.5 ounces of encapsulated citric acid for 25 pounds of meat. And then this is about 1 ounce of the pink curing salt, the sodium nitrite, for 25 pounds of meat. And then we have some casings. These are just small 1.5-inch casings. You can do whatever size you want, but these are currently hydrating in some warm water. And then we have some butcher's or kitchen twine that we'll be using to tie the ends of that. And so as with our snack stick video, all of the links to everything's in the description below so that you can get all the requirements for this to be able to do it at your house as well. Step number 1 is we're going to take our seasoning. Corey's going to take our seasoning, and we're actually going to put the seasoning on the meat before we even put it through the grinder. So our first grind is actually going to be a really coarse grind. So we have 2 different grinding plates that we can push this through. So we're going to start with the coarse grind, and then we're going to come back with a fine grind after this. But first step, pouring the seasoning on, and then we're just going to do a good mix by hand before putting it through the grinder. Very artistic pouring. All right. And as with the snack sticks and as with most things, we want this meat quite cold. And so we still have some frozen chunks even here. And I'm going to actually split this apart into the other half like we did before. But like I was saying, we want this pretty frozen because 1, it makes it grind easier. 2, it keeps bacteria down. And 3, it really helps your finished product turn out pretty nice. So keep it cold. Either do this trimming while your meat is frozen, or trim it beforehand and then freeze it so that it's kind of semi-frozen before you put it through the grinder. So as I mentioned, first step, coarse grind, and similar to the meat being as cold as possible, we also pre-chilled as many of the components of the grinder that we could so that that stays cool while we're grinding as well. And so, without further ado, Cole, the baby thinks we should go. Okay, so that is our first grind. And you can see why you would need to do a second grind, because this is definitely not homogeneous, and that's what you want in your summer sausage or snack sticks or whatever you're making. Oops, making a mess out of Corey's kitchen here. Okay, so the next thing before we do a second fine grind, I am going to put in our sodium nitrite. So this is our pink curing salt. And we're going to do our best to get this evenly distributed. So we're going to change out our grinding plate to a fine grinding hole size that we're going to be pushing the meat through, and we'll get this mixed up, and then we'll do a fine grind next. Okay, grind number 2, fine plate installed. Here we go. Alright, so that is done with the grinder. As you can see, much smaller particle size, a little bit better mixed. And we're going to move on towards the next step. So we're on to the next step. And we're just going to be mixing the remaining ingredients really thoroughly with our hands. If you had a mixer, you could do this a little bit differently and split this step apart a little bit, but we don't, so this is what we're going to do. So we've got our meat split in half, we've got our encapsulated citric acid split in half, and this one we're going to add about half of this high temp pepper jack cheese, and this one we're just going to do plain. Okay, so we're going to mix in our citric acid. We're going to add in, not our preservative pack, nor that preservative pack. About that much high temp cheese, and then we're also going to add about 2-ish cups of water to start to get this all nice and mixed together and claggy so that we can get it in our sausage stuffer to start making our summer sausage in the casings. Touch.
What?
So that's about mixed. Let's get stuffing. Okay, so we have our 5-pound sausage stuffer, and so we're just going to use that to pack our casings. We have the largest nozzle that came with this one on at the moment, and so I'm just going to kind of ball up our meat and cheese mixture with all of our nice ingredients, and as you can kind of see, it's gotten nice and sticky, and that means that I think good things are happening, or that's what I'm going to tell myself at least. And so there we go with that. And now Corey's going to throw that on the stuffing apparatus that we have attached to the counter. So we have our casing that we're going to put on. If you saw our snack stick video, these go on quite a bit easier than what those did, so that's nice. Get it towards the end so you can see what Corey's working with here. Okay, nice. All right, a little bit more. Okay. So we're gonna give that a little twist. And we're using our butcher's twine. To tie a knot. And then we're gonna go the other way, just like sutures. And there we go. There is our first summer sausage. So we're about halfway through, doing pretty well, just about done with the cheese ones here. And doing our best to overfill these rather than underfill them, and kind of learning a little bit of tricks to do that, because our snack sticks, we said kind of at the end, if we could do anything more, we would fill them a little bit tighter. So we're going to do another one now that we are a little bit more experienced and know what we're doing. So slide that on there. And it definitely goes way faster than snack sticks by just sheer means of going through more of our meat in these casings. A little bit more, and back off. So I actually start just twisting it kind of while I'm holding the remaining part still on the nozzle. And then if there's any slack, you can just give it a couple extra twists to get it nice and tight. And then core is here with our pre-cut strings, which are handy. And keeping that knot real tight. And there we go. It's easy as that. And we add it to our pile. So we're all finished up stuffing. And so we've got our pile here, and we're gonna throw it on the Traeger. And we're gonna put them at 165 for 2 hours, and then 185 for 2 hours, and then maybe bump it up to 205, and then we're gonna get them about towards 160 internal temperature. And we'll go from there. Ready, Court? All right. 165 for 2 hours, and then we'll step it up to 185 for 2 hours, and then we will go from there and maybe bump it up even more. All right, so we've been a couple hours here, 165 and then 185, and the internal temp of many of these is about 160, and so we're gonna take them off. And we're just gonna transfer them to a pan initially here. I'm gonna take our temp probe out. And as you can see, pretty good. Good color on that one. This is the first one we did, so you can see that we underfilled it a little bit, but that's okay. But the rest of them are quite a bit better than that one. Okay. Keep that with me. Back in the kitchen we go. Wow. Okay, back in the kitchen. As you can see, we got our smoked summer sausage, 160, and we're gonna go directly into ice baths. And this is good for setting the casing and really cooling everything down as quickly as possible so that we're not overcooking anything. As you can see, we could have filled that one a little bit more, but we're learning as we go. And then we're just gonna leave these in the ice bath to chill for several minutes, and then we're just gonna go in the fridge overnight to make sure that they're fully chilled before we cut them open tomorrow and give them a try. So patience is the name of the game a little bit here, but all good things in life you have to wait for. It's the next morning, and our summer sausage have been chilling in the fridge overnight, and so they're perfectly cool. So now we're gonna cut one open, cut a slice off, and give it a shot, see how we did for our first try. So this is a cheese one, which we can tell because we marked our string. And that is our product. Not too bad. There's a little bit of gaps in there, but overall I think that's okay. We got pretty good cheese distribution, it seems like. So first try, that's not terrible. So let's see what we can do here. So unlike the snack sticks, these casings are not edible. Peel off pretty good, so that's a good sign. Here goes nothing. It's actually pretty good. The cheese is nice. I like it. Maybe back off on the cheese portion a little bit, but overall pretty good. Good flavor and pretty good texture. So I'd do that again for sure. Put that down for a second. And the way that we're keeping these good for long term, although hypothetically they're shelf stable, we're actually just going to toss them in the freezer. And so what we've done is that we actually just take one cheese and one normal, and we're just throwing them in these vacuum bags, and we're going to just toss those in the freezer for long-term storage so that we know that they're protected and they're going to be good for, like I said, long-term. And we can take them out in the summer and enjoy them like you're supposed to. So that's it. Simple as that. Making summer sausage at home out of your leftover deer meat or out of your fresh deer meat, like in our case. And turned out a pretty good product. There are some things that we can improve on, as always, but for a first go round, it's a lot of fun and a pretty tasty result. So if you want to do this, as I said in the beginning of the video, just check the description. We put a link to everything that you need so that you can do this at home as well. And other than that, we appreciate you watching, so thank you for that, and we'll see you on the next one. Howdy howdy. Cody here with Creation Outdoors with
Yeah. Don't ask if I'm good. We just gotta go. Just send it, man. I know, right?
people are impossible. I don't know why I thought that this would be possible.
I'm just here to please, so.